Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Speaking Nerds channel. We are so excited to have you here with us today. I'm your host, Maya.
And I'm John. This is where we dive into real English, the language that helps you have authentic conversations, connect with people naturally, and express yourself the way native speakers actually do. Not boring, formal English from textbooks, but the warm, natural language that people use in real life every single day.
Absolutely. And if you're dedicated to improving your English and learning how native speakers really talk in everyday situations, please support us right now by clicking that like button and subscribing to English Speaking Nerds. Your support makes such a huge difference and helps us continue creating content that genuinely helps you grow.
It really does mean everything to us. We love each and every one of you, and we treasure your comments and feedback. Now, today's topic is incredibly relevant for so many people. We're talking about how to discuss weekend work at home in English.
Weekend work at home. This is such a common experience in modern life, and knowing how to talk about it naturally is essential. Whether you're catching up on projects, finishing assignments, checking emails, or doing extra work from home on your days off, these conversations happen all the time. At the office on Monday morning, with friends, with family, or with colleagues, people constantly discuss weekend work.
Exactly right. And this topic touches on work-life balance, time management, stress, productivity, and personal boundaries. Understanding how to express your experiences, feelings, and challenges around weekend work helps you connect with others who share similar situations and communicate effectively in professional and personal settings.
And please stay with us until the very end because we're going to cover how to describe what work you did, how to explain why you worked, how to talk about your workspace at home, how to discuss productivity and challenges, how to express feelings about working on weekends, how to set boundaries, and so much more. This is going to be incredibly practical and useful for your English conversations right now.
So, let's get started. Maya, why is it important to know how to talk about weekend work at home in English?
Oh, that's the perfect opening question. Talking about weekend work is important because it's a shared experience for millions of people around the world. When you can express your weekend work experiences clearly, you're participating in conversations about modern work culture, showing professionalism and connecting with others who understand the challenges. These conversations build understanding and sometimes even lead to solutions or support.
Yes, and I think there's something I call work transparency that happens in these conversations.
Work transparency. Tell everyone what that means.
Work transparency is when people openly share the reality of their work situations, not bragging, not complaining excessively, just being honest about what their work life actually looks like. When someone says, "I spent Saturday morning catching up on emails," they're being transparent about their workload. This honesty creates connection because others can relate and share their own experiences. It's about being real.
That's such an important concept, and these conversations have what I call shared understanding energy.
Shared understanding energy. Explain that concept.
Shared understanding energy is the feeling of recognition and validation that happens when people discover they have similar work experiences. When you tell someone, "I had to work on Sunday," and they respond, "Me too, I hate doing that," there's an immediate connection. You both understand the frustration, the sacrifice, the reality. This shared understanding creates bonds between people and makes conversations feel meaningful and supportive.
Perfect. And weekend work conversations follow certain patterns. This is what I call work conversation framework.
Work conversation framework. That sounds really helpful.
Work conversation framework is the typical structure these conversations follow. Usually, someone asks, "How was your weekend?" You might mention that you worked, they respond with sympathy, curiosity, or their own similar story. You might discuss why you worked, what you accomplished, how you felt about it. Then the conversation either goes deeper into work topics or shifts to other weekend activities. Understanding this framework helps you navigate these conversations smoothly.
Excellent. And the language we use for describing weekend work is very specific. It's what I call work-life vocabulary.
Work-life vocabulary. Define that for our viewers.
Work-life vocabulary means all the words and phrases we use to talk about the intersection of work and personal time. This includes phrases like catching up, finishing up, getting ahead, tight deadline, had to, needed to, couldn't avoid it, and expressions that describe our workspace, tasks, productivity, and feelings. This vocabulary helps you paint a complete picture of your weekend work experience in a way that native speakers immediately understand.
That's crucial information. And many English learners struggle with what I call the tone challenge.
The tone challenge, what's that?
The tone challenge is finding the right balance when talking about weekend work. You don't want to sound like you're complaining or being negative, but you also want to be honest if working on the weekend was difficult or frustrating. You don't want to sound like you're bragging about being busy, but you want to explain your situation. Finding that balanced, neutral, honest tone, that's a real skill. That's exactly what we're teaching today.
Perfect. So let's start with the most common scenario. Someone asks, "How was your weekend?" and you worked at least part of it. How do you answer?
This is interesting because you have to decide how much emphasis to put on the work. If work dominated your weekend, you might lead with it. If you worked a little but also had fun, you might mention both.
Can you give us examples?
Sure, if work dominated your weekend, you might say, "Honestly, it was mostly work. I had a big project due Monday, so I spent most of Saturday and Sunday at my computer." That's direct and honest.
What if you worked but also had some free time?
You might say, "It was mixed. I had to do some work on Saturday morning, but then I had the rest of the weekend free, so overall, pretty good." That shows balance.
What if you worked just a little bit?
You could say, "Pretty good. I did have to check emails a couple times, but nothing major. Mostly just relaxed." That downplays the work and emphasizes the relaxation.
So the way you describe it depends on how much the work affected your weekend.
Exactly. Your answer should reflect the reality. If work ruined your weekend, it's okay to say that. If it was minor, you can mention it briefly and move on.
Now let's talk about explaining why you worked. What are common reasons people give?
Great question. Common reasons include deadlines, catching up, getting ahead, special projects, unexpected issues, covering for someone, client demands, and personal choice. Each one has specific language.
Let's start with deadlines. How do you talk about working because of a deadline?
You might say, "I had a deadline Monday. Everything was due first thing Monday. Had to finish a report by Monday. The deadline was tight. I was up against a deadline." These all explain time pressure.
What about catching up on work?
You can say, "I was behind from last week, so I needed to catch up. I had to catch up on emails, playing catch up with everything, trying to get caught up before Monday. I fell behind during the week, so I used the weekend to catch up."
What about getting ahead?
That's more proactive. I wanted to get ahead for next week, getting a head start on Monday's work, trying to start the week ahead instead of behind. I worked ahead so next week would be easier. This shows planning.
What about unexpected situations?
You might say, "Something came up on Friday that needed immediate attention. There was an emergency at work. A client issue popped up. Unexpected problem that couldn't wait. A crisis situation that needed handling." These show it wasn't planned.
Now let's talk about describing what kind of work you did at home. What are the main categories?
Main categories are computer work, paperwork, emails, calls or meetings, creative work, planning or organizing, reading or research, and preparation for the week. Let's break them down.
Let's start with computer work. How do you describe this?
You can say, "I was on my laptop most of Saturday, spent Sunday at my computer, working on spreadsheets, updating databases, creating presentations, coding, data entry." These describe computer-based tasks.
What about emails?
Emails are huge. I caught up on emails, answered about 50 emails, cleared out my inbox, responding to client emails, email catch-up session, spent 2 hours on emails alone. Almost everyone can relate to email work.
What about calls or virtual meetings?
You might say, I had a conference call on Saturday, Zoom meeting with the team, client call that couldn't wait, quick check-in with my boss, 2-hour video meeting, team call to discuss the project. Virtual work is very common now.
What about creative or planning work?
This includes working on designs, planning next week's schedule, brainstorming ideas, creating content, writing proposals, developing strategies, organizing my projects. This is more thoughtful, creative work.
What about preparation work?
Preparation is common. Getting ready for Monday's presentation, preparing materials for a meeting, reviewing documents for next week, prepping for a big week ahead, getting everything organized for Monday. This is about being ready.
Now let's talk about describing your workspace at home. What do people typically say?
Your workspace affects your experience. You might work in different places, at my desk, at the kitchen table, on the couch, in my home office, in bed with my laptop, at the dining room table. Each place creates a different atmosphere.
How do you describe a good workspace?
You can say, I have a nice setup in my spare room. My home office is comfortable. Good desk and chair, so it's not too bad. I have a dedicated workspace. My setup at home is pretty good, actually. This shows you're comfortable working there.
What about a less ideal workspace?
You might say, I don't have a proper desk, so I work at the kitchen table. My chair isn't great for long periods. It's not an ideal setup. I work from my couch, which isn't the best for my back. Wish I had a better workspace at home. This is honest about challenges.
What about distractions in your home workspace?
Distractions come up. My kids were home, so it was distracting. The TV was on in the other room. My dog kept wanting attention. Family members kept interrupting. Noisy neighbors made it hard to concentrate. Too many distractions at home. These are real challenges.
Now let's talk about productivity. How do you describe being productive while working at home?
For positive productivity, you say, I got a lot done, actually. Very productive morning. Knocked out a ton of work. Made great progress. Got everything finished that I needed to. Really focused and got through my task list. This shows success.
What about when productivity was difficult?
You can say, it was hard to focus. Took me way longer than it should have. Kept getting distracted. Not as productive as I hoped. Struggled to concentrate. Took breaks every 20 minutes. Just couldn't get into it. This is honest about challenges.
How do you describe your energy level while working?
You might say, I was tired, so it was tough. Had good energy in the morning. Felt drained by afternoon. Motivated to get it done. Really didn't want to be working. Felt pretty good, actually. Mentally exhausted by the end. Energy affects everything.
Now let's talk about time. How do you describe how long you worked?
You use specific time phrases. Worked for a couple hours. Spent all morning working. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Just an hour or so. Most of the day, honestly. A few hours Saturday, then again Sunday. All weekend, practically. Be specific when you can.
What about describing breaks?
Breaks are important. I took breaks every hour. Worked for 2 hours, then took a break. Broke it up with lunch. Stopped for coffee breaks. No real breaks, just powered through it. Took a walk between tasks. Breaks show self-care.
Now let's talk about expressing feelings about weekend work. What are common emotions?
Common emotions are frustration, resentment, acceptance, pride and accomplishment, stress, relief when finished, guilt about not relaxing, and sometimes satisfaction. These are all valid feelings.
How do you express frustration or resentment?
You can say, I'm frustrated I had to work. Annoyed that I couldn't just have a normal weekend. Wish I didn't have to do this. It's frustrating to give up my weekend. I resent having to work on my days off. But keep it brief and balanced.
What about acceptance?
Acceptance sounds like, it is what it is. Part of the job sometimes. Just something I have to do. I've accepted that this happens sometimes. Not ideal, but I understand why it's necessary. It's okay. Comes with the territory. This shows maturity.
What about pride or satisfaction?
You might say, I'm proud I got it all done. Feels good to be caught up. Satisfied with what I accomplished. Good feeling to start the week ahead. Happy I powered through it, honestly. Glad I did it, honestly.
This is positive.
What about relief?
Relief is common. So relieved it's finished. Glad that's over with. Relief to have it off my plate. Finally done. What a relief. I can relax now that it's complete. This shows the burden is lifted.
What about guilt?
Some people feel guilty. I feel bad I didn't spend time with family. Guilty about ignoring my partner all weekend. Should have relaxed instead. Feel like I wasted my weekend. Guilty about not taking care of myself. This is an important emotion.
Now let's talk about the impact on your weekend activities. How do you describe what you missed or didn't do?
You might say, I missed my friend's birthday party because I was working. Didn't get to exercise like I planned. No time for hobbies this weekend. Canceled plans with family. Couldn't go to that event I wanted to attend. Missed out on relaxing. This shows sacrifice.
How do you describe balancing work and other activities?
You can say, I worked in the morning, then had the afternoon free. Did some work early so I could enjoy the rest of the day. Split my time between work and personal stuff. Squeezed in work around other activities. Tried to balance both. Balance is important.
Now let's talk about other people's reactions. What do people typically say when you tell them you worked on the weekend?
Common reactions are sympathy, shared experience, or advice. For sympathy, oh, that's too bad. Sorry you had to do that. That's rough. Ugh, no fun. These show understanding.
What about shared experience?
People often relate. Same here, I work Saturday too. I know exactly how that feels. Yeah, I've been there. Happens to me all the time. Tell me about it. I worked all weekend too. This creates connection.
What about advice or questions?
People might ask, why did you have to work? Could it have waited? Does this happen often? Are you able to say no? Or give advice? You should set boundaries. That's not healthy long term. Maybe talk to your boss about workload. Some helpful, some annoying.
How do you respond to unwanted advice?
Stay polite but firm. I appreciate the advice. It's complicated. I'm handling it. Not really looking for solutions, just venting. Thanks, but I've got it under control. You can gently shut it down.
Now let's talk about asking others if they worked on the weekend. How do you bring this up?
You can ask directly, did you end up working this weekend? Any work stuff over the weekend? Have to do any work at home? Or more casually, so all relaxing this weekend or did work creep in? Keep it light and non-judgmental.
How do you respond if someone says they worked?
Show empathy. Oh man, that's tough. I'm sorry you had to do that. That must have been frustrating. Or relate. Same here, actually. I know the feeling. Yeah, I work too. Make them feel understood.
What if they seem stressed about it?
Validate their feelings. That sounds really stressful. You must be exhausted. That's a lot on your plate. Totally understandable if you're frustrated. Anyone would feel that way. Don't minimize their experience.
Now let's talk about workplace culture around weekend work. How do you discuss whether weekend work is normal at your job?
You might say, at my company, weekend work is pretty rare. In my position, it's expected sometimes. My boss doesn't usually ask us to work weekends. It's kind of an unspoken expectation. Depends on the season. Busy times require weekend work. This describes the culture.
How do you express that it's becoming too frequent?
You can say, it's happening more and more lately. This is the third weekend in a row. It's becoming a regular thing, which concerns me. I'm working weekends more than I'd like. The frequency is getting to be too much. This shows it's a pattern.
Now let's talk about boundaries. How do you discuss setting boundaries around weekend work?
Boundaries are important. You might say, I try not to work weekends unless absolutely necessary. I've told my boss I need weekends off. I'm setting firmer boundaries about work-life balance, trying to protect my weekends more. I've decided no more weekend work unless it's an emergency.
How do you explain successful boundaries?
You can say, I've gotten better at saying no. I turn off work notifications on weekends. I don't check emails after Friday. My team knows not to contact me on weekends. I've communicated my boundaries clearly. This shows healthy limits.
What about when boundaries are difficult to maintain?
You might say,
I struggle to say no. Hard to ignore work emails even on weekends. My boss doesn't really respect boundaries. The culture doesn't support work-life balance. I'm working on it, but it's tough. Honesty about challenges is okay.
Now let's talk about the physical effects of weekend work. How do you describe how your body felt?
Physical effects are real. My back hurt from sitting so long. Got a headache from screen time. Felt stiff and sore. Eyes were tired. Physically exhausted by Sunday night. Didn't move enough. Felt sluggish. Bodies need rest.
What about sleep?
Sleep is affected. Stayed up late working, so I'm tired. Worked until midnight. Couldn't sleep well because I was thinking about work. Exhausted, but couldn't turn my brain off. Sleep schedule got messed up. Sleep is crucial.
Now let's talk about the positive aspects. Are there any good things about working from home on weekends?
Absolutely. Some positives. At least I could work in comfortable clothes. I could take breaks whenever I wanted. No commute to the office. Could work at my own pace. Listen to music while working. Could do laundry in between tasks. Some flexibility exists.
How do you express that it wasn't all bad?
You can say, it wasn't ideal, but it could have been worse. At least I got it done. The silver lining is I'm ahead for next week. Made the best of it. Turned out better than expected. Finding positives helps.
Now let's talk about specific vocabulary for weekend work at home. What words do we use constantly?
Key nouns: work, project, deadline, task, email, meeting, laptop, computer, workspace, desk, break, progress, assignment. These come up all the time.
What about verbs?
Action verbs: worked, finished, completed, caught up, responded, attended, prepared, organized, reviewed, typed, researched, planned, created. These describe what you did.
What about adjectives?
Common adjectives: busy, productive, frustrating, necessary, expected, urgent, important, tedious, exhausting, satisfying, overwhelming, manageable. These describe the experience.
What about phrases?
Common phrases: had to work, needed to finish, catching up on, getting ahead, working from home, at my computer, on my laptop, deadline was Monday, no choice really, part of the job. These are used constantly.
Now let's talk about comparing weekend work to office work. How do you discuss the differences?
You might say, it's different working at home, more distractions, easier to focus at the office. I prefer my office setup. Actually more productive at home. Miss having coworkers around. Nice to work in pajamas though. Compare the experiences.
How do you discuss efficiency?
You can say, it took longer at home. Got it done faster without office interruptions. Would have been quicker at the office with my dual monitors. Just as efficient at home as at work. Technology makes it easy to work anywhere. Efficiency varies.
Now let's talk about compensation. How do you discuss whether you get extra pay or time off?
This is sensitive. You might say, at least I get overtime pay. I'll take a day off this week to make up for it. No extra compensation, unfortunately. My salary includes occasional weekend work. I'm hourly, so I get paid extra. Not really compensated fairly for it, honestly.
How do you express frustration about a lack of compensation?
You can say, carefully, I wish there was some recognition for weekend work. Would be nice to get comp time. Feels unfair that it's unpaid. My time should be valued. But be careful who you say this to.
Now let's talk about looking ahead. How do you discuss hoping to avoid weekend work in the future?
You might say, hopefully next weekend will be free. I'm planning better so I won't have to work weekends. Trying to prevent this from happening again. Going to talk to my manager about workload. Setting better boundaries going forward. This shows forward thinking.
How do you express acceptance that it will happen again?
You can say, probably happen again during busy season. It's just how it is with this job. I expect to work some weekends. Part of my career path. Worth it for the opportunities I have. This shows realistic acceptance.
Now, let me ask you something personal, John. Do you ever work on weekends at home?
Great question. Yes, I do work weekends sometimes. It usually happens when I have a big project coming up or when I've fallen behind during the week. Last weekend, actually, I worked on Saturday morning for about 3 hours. I had some editing work that needed to be finished before Monday, and I just ran out of time during the week. I set up at my kitchen table with my laptop and coffee, put on some background music, and just powered through it. Honestly, I was frustrated about it. Saturdays are usually my day to relax and do errands, so giving up that morning was annoying. But once I started working, it wasn't too bad. I got into a good flow, finished everything I needed to do, and then had the rest of the weekend free. The relief I felt after completing it was worth the sacrifice, and I was much less stressed on Monday morning because I wasn't scrambling to finish everything. So, yeah, it happens. I try to avoid it when possible, but sometimes it's necessary. What about you, Maya?
I definitely work weekends too, though I really try not to. For me, it usually happens because of client demands or unexpected situations. Just last Sunday, I had to spend about 4 hours working because a client sent urgent feedback on Friday evening that needed to be addressed before Monday. I worked from my home office. I'm lucky to have a dedicated workspace, which makes it easier. I put on comfortable clothes, made myself tea, and just focused on getting it done. My feelings about it were mixed. On one hand, I was annoyed that my Sunday was interrupted. I had plans to meet a friend for lunch, but I had to cancel. That made me feel guilty. On the other hand, I felt professional and responsible handling the situation. And honestly, there was a little pride when I finished everything and knew Monday would go smoothly. The hardest part for me is mentally transitioning from work mode to relaxation mode. After working, I felt like the relaxation part of my day was already ruined. But I'm learning to set better boundaries and communicate more clearly with clients about weekend availability. It's a work in progress.
See how real and honest those answers were? Weekend work at home is complex. There are practical aspects, emotional aspects, and professional aspects. And now you have all the language you need to discuss every part of it.
Exactly. You can describe what you did, why you did it, how you felt, what your workspace was like, how it affected your weekend, and what you're doing about it. You have complete vocabulary for these important conversations.
You have all the words, phrases, sentence structures, and conversational strategies to participate naturally in any discussion about weekend work at home.
So we want to hear from you right now. Tell us in the comments, do you ever work on weekends at home? What kind of work do you do? How do you feel about it? What's your workspace like? Use the vocabulary and expressions we taught today.
This is your opportunity to practice in a safe, supportive environment, write about your real experiences, or create practice scenarios. We read every single comment and love hearing your stories.
And if this episode helped you feel more confident about discussing weekend work in English, please give us a big thumbs up. Your likes tell us you want more practical content like this.
Please share this video with anyone learning English who wants to improve their conversation skills, especially people who work and need professional English vocabulary and expressions.
Thank you for being part of our learning community.
Happy learning, everyone. Keep practicing and keep growing.
We can't wait to read about your weekend work experiences in the comments.
See you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.